welcome to this short review that I'm going to do of a 6mm Waterloo collection that Henry Turner, now he's well established as a 6mm sculptor, 3D sculptor, and he's producing these as a set of STLs for the Waterloo campaign of 1815. This comes hot on the heels of Henry's previous campaigns. He's also done First World War in 6mm with a huge number of figures for printing. He's also done what was called Europe Asunder, which was the Napoleonic Wars, earlier Napoleonic Wars. So he's well versed in a lot of these kind of these Kickstarters. This one is set to come out at the end of July. I think he said the 27th, but he is in the middle of buying a house and a few other things, so I'm not sure if it'll come out on the 27th, but he will certainly be towards the end of July at least, which is why I'm doing it now. Henry has very kindly sent me over the STLs of the actual Kickstarter itself. These are the ones that he's sent. Well, at least the initial Kickstarter will include line infantry for Britain, France and Prussia with mounted officers of various marching poses. They're either in strips for both marching and firing battalions as well, which is quite nice. It means you don't have to mount individual figures. Skirmish infantry for the British and the French, lights for the British and voltigeurs for the French in a set of action poses, which is nice for 6mm. You don't very rarely see that. And there's also scope for expansion with stretch goals as well. Also, he's including foot artillery, artillery trains and wagons, 3 types of cavalry for each of the nations as a baseline, and also headquarters command sets for all of the nations as well. Also, there's going to be an optional personalities and characters add-on and lots of stretch goals as well for the various allied nations of the other troop types. So just to quickly have a look at some of these, because he has sent me what is a work in progress stretch goals. So there's all kinds of things like the Prussian Jaegers, French Line Lancers, the Dutch Belgian Hussars, Brunswick Avant-Garde, Brunswick Artillery, more French, early French in 1808 style. Also personality packs are going to include people like obviously Napoleon, Ney, Wellington, Prince of Orange, Blucher, Grouchy, von Bulow, and also Galloping Messengers, and a Brit with a piggy, potentially. There's a question mark next to that. He also has as well some free 3D samples for the Kickstarter. I will put a link to all of this stuff in the description down below, but you can download these STLs and see them as they are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dive in and have a look at some of these figures close up. So that's the idea now. So that's the introduction. Go and check out the Kickstarter. As I say, it's going to be starting very soon. The start date is meant to be around the end of July. So I'm just trying to get this video out ready for that. And then what we'll do now is we'll have a look at some of these STLs in a little bit more detail. Right, well, first up, this is a British Line Marching Infantryman number 3. Now, there's quite a few of these ones, so this is just one. I'm picking out a few random samples here just to show you, to give you a good idea. So you can see, I mean, these are 6mm, so we're looking at something about that big on the screen as it is. I'm just going to zoom in here so you can actually see there's a hell of a lot of detail on these. One of the things that when I reviewed some of Henry's earlier stuff, the Europe Asunder Kickstarter that he did a while back, I thought some of his figures were a little comic book looking, I guess. He's really come on as a sculptor, as you can see here. I mean, this is in 6mm. Would I make this bigger into 15mm? Probably not. I think because it's quite chunky, it fits perfectly well for 6mm. I would probably say you'd probably be able to add a push to get this up to 10mm, and it still look okay. Anything more than that, and you might think it's a little on the chunky side. However, at 6mm, that's something you kind of want, because you really want to be able to see that detail. And as I say, I'm very impressed by this. Having seen some of Henry's earlier stuff, he's just getting better and better as a sculptor. Completely. Okay, let's have a look at some more. Okay, this is British Mounted Officer standing, sword held forward, number 2. I've just had a count, and in the British set alone that Henry sent, there's 32 different poses. So this includes line infantry, flank infantry, and also officers and other bits and pieces as well. But this is just to give you an idea of one of the officers. This is the British Mounted Officer, as you can see here, on a horse. So these are nice. Again, lots of different poses, so not all of them are looking the same. And again, a great amount of detail, and from a 6mm point of view, which let me just come out again, you know, that will look fantastic on the tabletop, I think. Won't take much to paint these because there is the detail is so nice and stands out as well. These would print very well, I think, probably with a resin printer more than an FDM. I mentioned in the introduction that there are strips as well, so you don't have to mess about with these. You can print them straight out as strips of 4. So this is pretty similar to what Bacchus do, for example, which I've used in the past for my Waterloo campaign stuff. I'm even thinking of using some of these Prussians here for the finishing off my Waterloo campaign, if I can find some friendly person with a printer. But these are British infantry, so this is British Line Infantry marching. This is number 4 again, once again, you can see here that each of these individual figures is an individual pose as well, so there's quite a few different types of these ones. So this really nicely mixes up the flank, although, you know, it's kind of difficult to see in 6mm. It is nice to have that just that little bit of difference between the figures as they are on the table, just to give them a little bit of, I suppose, added realism. So again, once again, looking at this from, you know, probably tabletop height, this is gives us a bit of an idea here as to how they would look on the tabletop. Let's say I think you could quite easily get away with these in 10mm. I probably wouldn't push them any bigger than that. They're probably they'd look a little bit too chunky maybe for 15mm or for 28mm, but some people like that look, and I think it certainly works. And as I say, these are far better than the earlier ones that I looked at from Henry. These are just he's just improving with every release. Here's a quick look at the British Cavalry, or at least one type of them. This is the British Lifeguard Cavalryman. This is galloping number 5, so there's a number of these. You can see here he's got a few supports underneath. They'd be easy to remove anyway once you've printed them, but the supports are already in place there for those. And again, another lovely little figure, lots of life, lots of detail on that, and including on the horse as well. Very nice, a bunch of those all galloping in different poses will look really good, I think, as a unit steaming across the battle. Okay, taking a look at the Prussians now. This is Prussian Landwehr, so again, it's another one of the strips. This is the number 4 of the many that there are, and again, you can see once again those individual figures are just lovely, and also each one has a completely different pose to his neighbour, so that looks really nice. And again, loads and loads of detail on these. I mean, you have to really look at other 6mm manufacturers, and obviously they just when they're designing by hand, they just cannot get as much detail on their figures as you can do with a 3D printed thing. Now, you know, that's not to say that that's a bad thing, because the human eye can only pick up so much detail anyway, so you know, sometimes it's a bit overkill. But in this case, as I say, the nice chunkiness of these figures, the nice thick detail on them, will make these a pleasure to paint. I'm wishing I had a printer just to be able to print some of these out as a tester, if nothing else. I mentioned it in the intro, but yes, there is also Artilleryman as well. This is the Prussian Artilleryman. This is Prussian Artilleryman holding shot. So there he is. He's holding shot. He's not doing something naughty, ladies and gentlemen. You keep your minds out of the gutter. But again, once again, just to go around that figure, you can see, you know, the huge amount of detail that Henry has put into this, and the amount of work that he's put in as well, and just lovely little figures, really. These will be fantastic. I haven't, in the stuff he sent me, I haven't seen any guns, but I think they will be part of the Kickstarter as well. I'm only going through a few of these just to pick out some bits and pieces here, just to show you. But yes, there will be guns and wagons and all that kind of stuff as well included, as well as the figures themselves. And here are some of the French. This is the French Flank Company. These are Marching Infantry number 4. So again, once again, there's plenty of these. You can see these fellas here. Each one, once again, another individual model, as they're marching along there with the little eagles on them, and their plumes resplendent. You can see that again, lots of detail on the back, their little cartridge cases, their bayonets, and all the other bits and pieces as well. I keep saying it, but these things, I'm fairly sure these would be an absolute pleasure to paint, because the detail is so fine and so obvious on them. And painting 6mm, if you can paint dots and stripes on a 28mm figure, then you can certainly paint it on a 6mm figure as well. So that's some of the French flank company. That's one of the marching poses. A typical French infantry marching pose as well. This is strip number 2. So once again, I keep saying it, but they're all got different poses, and I really like that. Again, it's something you don't really see a lot with 6mm stuff. Because they are so small, it's easier just to reproduce the same pose for all of the figures. It's not a bad thing, but it is nice to see that somebody is thinking about this, and in this case it's Henry here. So these guys are your typical French infantry for the Waterloo campaign. They've got the pom-poms you can see there, rather than the earlier bushy, I can't remember the name of it, but they've got the pom-poms on the top of their shakos here, and again, everything else looks really nice, lots of detail. And the other thing as well, Henry said, is that he's able to, if anybody does spot any mistakes, he's able to very quickly rectify those anyway, just then send out the STLs again with the updated mistakes not made. But I haven't spotted any myself, but I'm no expert on the Waterloo campaign, but these certainly look good enough to me to go straight on the tabletop. Let's finish off this review with these, the French Infantry Eagle Party Marching. So there we go, there's the regimental eagles, so you can add those in as well, the sergeants as well, with their big old axes as well. So again, lovely little figures there, lots of character on them, even got moustaches on the 6mm figures, which is nice to see, a nice little touch. But yeah, they're fantastic, they're really nice. This looks like it's going to be a really good Kickstarter, and I certainly think it's one that'll generate a lot of interest. The Waterloo campaign itself being particularly interesting. Like I said, I'm going to try and find somebody who I know with a printer and see if I can get some of these Prussians done for my Blucher Waterloo campaign, and we'll go from there. So yeah, that's going to wrap that up. Hope you enjoyed this review of Henry's new Kickstarter. Once again, just to say, go and check it out over on his Kickstarter page. I shall put a link in the description down below. Also check out his free STLs as well, which you can download. This looks like it's going to be a big one, and it should be a lot of fun, and hopefully it all goes well for Henry at the end of July when he releases this. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you have done, please leave me a comment, leave a like, and if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.